Well, controversial social media influencers Andrew and Tristan Tate are in federal custody after U.S. officials arrested the brothers in Miami Saturday. The arrests are connected to criminal cases in the United Kingdom, where authorities are seeking to extradite both men to face rape and other charges.
Andrew Tate now faces more than 30 counts stemming from alleged offenses between July of 2010 and August of 2017. Those counts include rape, assault, sex trafficking, and child pornography offenses. His brother Tristan Tate also faces multiple counts, including rape, sex trafficking, and sexual assault. They both deny any wrongdoing.
NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalas joins us now from the UK with more. Danny, good morning. So British authorities are saying that these new charges follow the discovery of additional evidence. What do we know about that and what led up to the arrests?
Well, according to what's been published by authorities here, the Bedfordshire police received a fresh file of new evidence, new alleged victims or complainants, bringing the number of complainants from 3 up to, I believe, 7, and dramatically increasing the number of charges up to over 40. So these are charges that initiated the U.S. Marshal Service to go out and initiate extradition proceedings.
So, Danny, the U.S. Marshal Service says the warrant remains sealed right now. Why would details of the charges be kept under seal at this point?
The charges themselves are not under seal. They are published on the website by law enforcement authorities here in the UK. But it's very common for the arrest warrant for the U.S. Marshals to be kept under seal because when you think about it, extradition often involves fugitives. Fugitives are people who are avoiding justice. So you don't want to telegraph that we're looking for fugitives by filing that in a court document. So the charges themselves are known and public. The actual arrest warrant for the Marshal, it's routine for that to be sealed, and then it will be unsealed at the first appearance. It's kept sealed so you don't telegraph to fugitives to go and run and go hide somewhere else.
The brothers are now awaiting extradition proceedings in the U.S. Is that a slam dunk? Does that mean they will go to Britain to face trial?
Legally, it should be a slam dunk, but it likely won't be, and here's why. Extradition, at least international extradition, is the product of a treaty between the United States and whatever country is requesting it. We have a treaty with the UK. It's a powerful treaty. And by the way, some countries will not extradite their own citizens. Under the treaty, these folks can be extradited. But here's where it's tricky. If Andrew Tate has been a vocal supporter of President Trump, and there are a few ways the executive branch could slow down or even stop these proceedings. Number one, the DOJ has to file a complaint. It's just a formality, but they may choose not to or delay it. Number two, ultimately, no matter what the judge does here in the States, the Secretary of State has to sign and execute a warrant. And that could die on the Secretary of State's desk if the administration decides these are defendants that they want to prevent their extradition. Now, I couldn't find an instance of this ever happening in history, but at least under the law, it's possible.
Beyond the potential politics of this, we should note that the Tates, they're dual citizens in the U.S. and the UK. What does that mean for extradition proceedings? Could it complicate things at all?
No, that's least likely to complicate these proceedings. Some countries are reluctant to hand over their own citizens. The U.S. loves handing over their own citizens. I'm saying that as glibly because really we're very, very open to entering into extradition treaties with not just the U.K., but lots of countries. So we will turn over our citizens if the criteria are met. So, for example, if a foreign country has something outlawed that the United States would never make a crime, that might be grounds to refuse extradition. But the mere fact that you hold a U.S. passport or are a dual citizen will not protect you like a force field from extradition proceedings. Their better argument is that these charges are old and really a pitch to the administration to say, hey, just slow this down and maybe throw up some roadblocks so we can stay here as long as possible.
All right, Danny Savalas, thank you so much.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.